what if I die tomorrow? There's a fear, isn't there, of like, money is the root of all evil. Definitely bring out the truth in people, and I think we have seen that. Do you think we are becoming these corrupted, westernized Muslim women? No. I don't think we are corrupted. I think we have just been fed all this rubbish that keeps us thinking small. For me, the journey has been, it's been a beautiful journey, I think. It took me a while for that to sink in. Never thought about God in that way. It's like, actually, it does make sense. How was your hijab journey then? Like I mean, I know that hijab journey is one that is like up and down, right? I took it off. Oh my God, what happened? Like, did your boyfriend like put a curse on you? Because in the past, she had threatened to jump out of the 6th floor, the kitchen window if I ever decide to go away from Buddhism.
So let's just take a moment to have a look at what you're doing right now, because you now help other women learn how to build their own successful brands.
You have to communicate what you have to offer. Those 97%, they don't know what why they would need something or what they even need. They're just not aware.
I want to welcome Maylene, a phenomenal brand strategist and creative founder of Studio Noor and Nisa, celebrated for her mission to elevate Muslim-owned businesses through thoughtful, impactful branding. Formerly a design director at world-renowned branding agency, Maylene's journey has taken her from defying social norms in Singapore to building a globally recognized career in London. Named as one of the F Entrepreneur Top 100 Women in the UK for 2024, Maylene's expertise has inspired countless Muslim women entrepreneurs to show up unapologetically in their niches. Whether mentoring, hosting workshops, or sharing her insights on platforms like Salam Britain, she's passionately reshaping narratives and creating legacies. I'm so pleased to have you here. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Maylene, I've got a question for you. Because without the titles, without your position in your family, without anything to do with your work or where you're from, who are you?
That's a very good question. Well, I'm, without all the titles, yes?
Without the titles.
I'm a woman who's very, I think, just kind of carefree.
Carefree.
Go with the flow, very spontaneous. I love to see where things take me. I think very curious and open-minded, and love a good adventure. But I also love just being still in a spot, like if it's a nice spot, obviously. But I'm also somebody who is very much into learning. Like, I don't think I can remember a time when I've stopped learning about something. There's always something to learn, always something to kind of make myself better, more skilled, expand my horizons. So yeah, I think that's at the very core. I think that's who I am. Love to experiment and play and just see what comes up.
And what does a good adventure look like to you?
Oh,
what's your dream good adventure?
Gosh, it's I used to dream of going to Cuba, but I don't know why it's not really there anymore. I think anywhere I'm seeing kind of like really soaking in the culture, really getting to know the people, the food. I don't know, even if you like throw me into like some kind of like the Amazon rainforest in the tribe, just learning and just living life.
Yeah.
I think for me, that like just what you wouldn't expect, I suppose.
And have you always been like that?
I think I have.
From a child?
Yeah, I have actually. I think I've always just dreamt about going somewhere. And, like my parents weren't well-to-do. So it was for a very large part, it was like a dream. And I just get very excited when we go on holidays. Or if I go anywhere. But I was also saying to you this morning, even just taking the train out of London, I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting.
Like I had the best time and then realised it was only 35 minutes.
Yeah, precisely. No, it was good.
Something I've learned behind like every successful woman that I meet, there is a backstory. There is a drive, right? What do people need to understand about you? What context do they need to understand about you, maybe your childhood, that led you to become who you are today? Can you identify a drive?
I think it's to do with just the environment I was growing up in. You know, like obviously having, you know, being born in Singapore and growing up there, everything had rules, right? Everything had a certain way of being, and you know, there was almost like a mold to fit into.
Right.
And I think I'm that kind of person who's always just been a bit rebellious with that fitting into a mold. Like always wanted to be a little bit different.
What did those rules look like?
Like, you know, like even the way you go into school, the way that the learning style is, you sit there and you just listen to the teacher. And I think, you know what, I think there was something that happened in secondary school that that really irked me for some reason. It was that, you know, everyone was studying for their O-levels, and there was a friend, kind of a friend, who got A's, obviously, but, you know, it wasn't because she was actually understanding what she was learning. It was all regurgitation.
Yes.
And for me, that never felt right. Like, you know, we were learning English literature, but if you even veered away from like the way the answers have been fed to you, you wouldn't get the points, even if it actually made sense, like the kind of level of thinking that you had. So for me, that didn't feel right. And also, I think it was always been about like the 5 C's, like the idea of success. Oh, you're gonna get, you know, car, your credit card, cash, condominium, career, or something like that. And I think that just maybe that just never really sat well with me.
In terms of the kind of education system that you speak about, I think there is a real problem with the idea of being successful at school, meaning how much information you can memorize in the shortest space of time to do well in your exams.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, how many people actually remember the answers to the questions that they were asked in their exams?
Precisely. But even for myself, like going into, so after finishing secondary school, everyone was like, oh, okay, then the next thing is junior college and then going to university. But like, I think by that time I kind of found my creative streak,
right,
and didn't want to go down that route. But at the same time, you know, there's always been this stigma of like, oh, if you don't go to university, then, you know, you're not very, like you're probably not doing very well in your studies, or not very academically like able, or whatever that is. Because even when I chose to go to design school, design was at that time in Singapore wasn't something that was very popular, but also it was only offered in a polytechnic, which is basically where people go if they can't get into junior college.
Interesting.
And it was really interesting because for me, I was like, okay, I'm choosing to go design school. I don't want to go to university or college because I want to pursue a design career. But I'm going to make sure that I ace my studies.
Right.
Because I don't want anyone turning around to me and saying, oh, you couldn't make it.
So
I think that I didn't want to have anyone say that to me. So I went and I had an interview, and the one of the I don't know what you call them, like the ladies who was interviewing me, she was looking through my papers and she's like, oh, you got like straight A's. I'm like, yeah. I just want to do design.
Why are you here?
Like, why are you here? Like, it's almost like they were expecting you to not have done well in your studies to actually want to do something.
What do you think is the definition of success for people in Singapore?
I think it's those 5 C's. I think for a very long time it felt like it was that, you know, having the, I think financially is definitely, you know, one of those things. Like if you can get well, in my time, if you can get a condominium, because most people lived in like the public housing flats, whatever you call it, HDB flats. If you had a landed property, then obviously you're doing really well because there's so few of them in Singapore at that time. But yeah, I think that, you know, being top in your career, like in like a doctor, or can't remember what else it was, you know, like when we were growing up, it's all this kind of like jobs that was already kind of imposed on us.
Lawyer, doctor, solicitor,
you know, the usual.
Accountant.
Precisely.
And is it the same, or did you feel that it was the same for men and women, the expectations?
Is it the same? Maybe not so. I don't know whether it's not so much for women. No, you know what? I've always felt that it was quite similar. And I think by my generation,
that there is that hunger for women as well, or girls, to want to have like the same level of success as their male counterparts. Yeah.
And so you aced your O-levels.
Yeah.
In a path that was not seen as traditional. Who did you do that for?
I think I did it for myself.
Almost, but thinking about what you just said a second ago, you were like, I didn't want to be seen as the person, right?
Okay, I'm lying to myself now. No, I think it was, I think I did it so it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like proving other people wrong. I think I've had this in me since young. There's always this wanting to prove others wrong.
So it's a really interesting concept because it's something I've always had as well. Is if you want me to do something, tell me I'm not capable of doing it and I'll go and achieve it.
Yes.
But it was actually only recently, I'd probably say in the last couple of years, that I sat down with somebody on a podcast and she was like, she was the same. Right. And so it's a really common trait in entrepreneurs that I see is this, well, I'm going to go and achieve my goals. Right. And saying I'm doing it for myself. I don't care what other people say, but at the same time, proving them wrong. If you actually think about that, you're actually still seeking their validation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you still doing it like deep down? Are you actually doing it for yourself? Or is there this desire to break free of the expectations that are on you and to prove to everybody, I don't need to do what you're expecting of me? Now, it's a bit of a double whammy because you're doing it for yourself because you don't want to fit into other people's expectations. But at the same time, you want to prove to them that you don't have to do what they expect of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying. And it's funny, like I feel like I'm just flitting in between the two because I feel like as I got older, it stopped being about I need to prove somebody wrong. But when you just said what you said about how when someone tells you that, oh, you're not going to do it, you're not going to be capable of doing it. And it's the same thing that happened to me with, the mentoring program.
Yeah.
It took 4 years. And then my husband said, you're not going to do it this year. I was like, I'm going to show you. And I didn't realize. I mean, I used to think that, okay, my business with Poppetry, it was there to show it. Like it was almost proving that I could make something out of it, and it got stronger, like towards like the end last few years. But after I sold that, there was a point I kind of made peace and like, you know what? No, I should do this for myself.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. You kind of still go back to, no, actually now I'm going to prove the world wrong. Like I think on a grander scale, what I'm doing now is almost like I want to prove the world wrong about what they think about Muslims or Muslim women even in particular. Because like, look, we can do all this and, we're not what you think we are, like oppressed or, incapable or whatever that is, like, old fashioned, like there's innovators, there's like talented women amongst us. And I think maybe it's come to that point where, okay, it's not just about me anymore. It's kind of like the community. So I think maybe yeah, you're right. There's that. I think that's probably still there, but it's just a little bit different.
As a revert, I think it's really interesting because you've seen both sides, right? What do you think people's perception of Muslim women is?
Right, let me see. I mean, to be honest, I think the earliest kind of memory or perception of what I think, Muslim women are like is, I think, through my mum's eyes, because obviously she was one of the first few to have seen me like embrace Islam, and she was obviously always been against it. But in Singapore, like when we talk about being Muslim, it's always been it's almost like it's just between halal and haram. Like it was like people just think, oh, it's very strict, or yeah, it's very strict. You have to live within like a certain boundaries. It's it's always about what you can do or can't do.
Yes,
but it's not.
The focus of Islam is always put on the laws of the religion rather than the faith of the religion.
Precisely.
And it's a really interesting concept when somebody will come to you or to me, for example, and say, especially when I was considering becoming Muslim, yeah, but how would you feel to never have a drink again? Or what about like getting married? Or like, what about wearing a hijab? And I'm like, listen, you're not ready to ask those questions. That's the reality of it, because your focus should not be on the laws of a religion.
Yeah.
Your focus should be firstly in your belief that something greater exists.
Precisely.
Let's just start at that point.
Yeah.
Because if you're not there, then there's absolutely no point in paying any attention to what's halal and what's haram, because they're not applicable to you.
Yeah.
Because you're not ready for that. And so if you can actually put your focus on, well, I do believe there is a creator, right? If you get to that point and you believe that, then the next stage is to understand about the prophets. The next stage is to understand about the message and where it came from.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like having a TV. You know, I don't even have a TV, but that's why I'm giving it as an example, right? Because last time I went to my friend's house, she had a TV and she gave me the remote control. She like put something on for the kids. So I picked up the remote control and I was like, YouTube, Amazon, like what are all these buttons? Like, I was like, I've never seen a remote control like this. Anyway, my point is, we all know how to switch on a TV. Most people know how to change the channel. I had no idea. But you know how to do the volume, you know how to adjust the brightness. But if you actually want to get the most out of a TV, you actually need to actually have a look at the manual and understand what it's really capable of. Has it got surround sound features? Like what is this TV actually capable of?
Yeah.
And so without understanding the person that made it and their guidance on how to use it, it will just be a basic standard TV.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great analogy, actually.
And so that's my kind of concept with when somebody questions the strictness and the rules of Islam is, are you ready to ask about those?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because probably not. The people that are asking about those haven't even acknowledged or believed strong enough that there is something greater than just this planet that we live on.
Precisely. And that's what's beautiful about the Shahada, right? It goes back right to the core of you just believing in Allah.
What was your journey like? Like, where did it start for you that you even considered learning about the faith? And what was your mindset like before it?
Okay. So like with me, it was actually, I was dating somebody.
Okay.
And he's Muslim. So I think he's probably the first Muslim I've ever dated. And, you know, I think it was kind of like semi-serious kind of thing. But his mom said to me like, oh, you know, like, why don't you go to Darul Arqam, which is like in Singapore, like the Converts Association. Why don't you go to Darul Arqam and learn about Islam? So by this time, I think we had already been dating for like 3 years. Just out of respect, when I'm around him, obviously stop eating pork. And when they fast for Ramadan, I just fast, you know, just to kind of like just be in it, you know, and obviously like for the, you know, being respectful as well to like him and his friends and all that. So yeah, I went for classes. His sister went with me. His sister is my best friend, or was my best. Yeah, like we're still close. Close. But you know, at that time, it's like we were really, really close. And so that's when I first started learning about Islam. And I think for me, the journey it's been a beautiful journey, I think, for me, because for me, I was learning it, but I knew I wasn't learning it because of a man or a boy. I wanted to learn it for myself. And if I were to ever embrace the religion, I knew I had to do it for myself.
Yes.
So, whereas I think at that point, a lot of the kind of like people who were at the association, they embrace Islam because obviously they're getting married. And I told myself I didn't want that to be me.
Yeah.
Like I better make sure that it's something that like fits what I believe in. I think then like the journey, it was just meeting some really wonderful people along the way. So I've always formed a very good opinion of Islam. Because even before that, before I even knew like about Islam and Muslim and everything, it's just from kind of like social contact with friends, and you just know the basics, like, okay, yeah, they don't eat pork, or they fast, or whatever that is. And like you have the azan playing on TV, and like my friends had to go and like learn the Quran with their teacher, and sometimes they hated it. But like that, it was a very, very kind of minimal knowledge that I felt like I didn't know enough to pass any judgment on the religion. So yeah, when I came into learning the religion, and it was like I had 2 revert friends who kind of just took it upon themselves to take me along the ride, which was really nice. There was this Sahaba camp, so I got to meet like a whole group of like
What's the Sahaba camp?
Oh, it was this new thing they were doing at Darul Arqam at that point, and it was just a group of like youths, right? And they were having a Sahaba camp, so I thought, you know what, I'll just join it. And it was like an adventure camp. We went to like one of the mountains and like camped, and then like had activities and that kind of stuff. So it actually, and then obviously in the Islamic kind of respect and like teaching the principles and values and things. And I think that's why from the beginning, when I learned about religion, it was always already starting on the right path. I had an ustaza who is a revert as well. And she would usually welcome us to her home every Friday, and we'll like all the Chinese reverts will come together. We'll have food. We'll laugh. It's always been like a very beautiful experience for me. But yeah, sorry. So that was after I embraced Islam, obviously. But before, while I was learning, I think I was surrounded by enough people in that association to actually feel like safe and feel like, okay, this is something.
And what was your belief up until that point, up until even thinking about going along to this association? What did you grow up? Was there anything in your home?
No, so like my mom is a Buddhist, very devout Buddhist. I mean, I don't even know if you call it Buddhist or Taoist, because like she prays to the goddess of mercy, and then like we've got this altar, and she's so my parents are both very religious.
Was that something that you grew up with as well?
Yeah, I grew up with that. Every morning they'll be praying, and it's funny because when you see them praying, it's almost like sujud as well.
Right. Okay.
So it's something that I had done as a Buddhist. Like when I go to temple, you do sujud. And so it was really interesting in that sense that, okay, like something that I'm not totally unfamiliar with. Like I'm not coming at it from a non-religious perspective. Like that was really, I was surrounded by religion because my parents both were like, quite devout Buddhist. So for me, it wasn't something like I actually went to Buddhist school. Like I went to learn about Buddhism, but it never felt right because it's still men. Sorry to say that.
How do you mean?
Like, Buddha.
Yes.
Was a man,
Yes.
right? Is it? I can't remember his name now. It's Siddhartha. But it just didn't. It didn't feel quite. It didn't quite align with my impression of like God and like, why are you praying to this man?
So that was what was going to be my next question. So what made you lean towards wanting to learn more about Islam than the Buddhism?
I think it was because there was that nudge, obviously, from my then boyfriend's mom, but also maybe because I was also curious. I think I was just curious. Like I'm like, okay, I'm just going for the ride, really, to see like, okay, so what can come out of this?
Can I ask, did your parents know that you were learning about
no,
Islam?
they don't. No, they didn't.
So you were doing it in secret?
I was doing it. Yeah, I was doing it in secret. I mean, to be honest, my mom is quite lax. So like, she let me go and get on with whatever I wanted to do, to be honest. So yeah, like I didn't say to her like, oh, but she knew that I was dating like a Muslim boy, or I mean, I think probably for her, she was seeing it as more like, oh, she's dating that Malay boy.
Right.
So the skin of the color of the skin actually probably mattered more than the religion.
Yeah.
I don't think it dawned on her like, oh, he's Muslim, and maybe I might want to be Muslim. I don't think it ever dawned on her, or maybe she did and brushed it off. So yeah, like it was.
Why didn't you tell her?
I didn't think it was. I don't know. Let me think. Didn't feel the need to because I was exploring,
Right.
and it wasn't something that I have decided to like go into. So and I knew what she was going to say anyway, right?
What was she going to say?
Which just stopped me from going, right? Like, no, you're meant to be like a Buddhist. I have prayed to the goddess of mercy, and like, your name's written down. Like, you're one of the, I don't know what she said the other time, but she said like, your life is tied to the goddess of mercy or something like that. Like, that's your destiny.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, yeah, all right. But I mean, for me, it's always been like, okay, I want to learn. Like, if I'm going to do this, I need to know why I'm doing this.
Yes.
And I need to really kind of learn about it before making that decision. So I think when I went to Darul Arqam, that period of time was more exploration, learning about, Islam. And I still remember that very first lesson. I was with a really amazing ustad. And he was talking about like the whole kind of creation, who created the moon and the sun and the stars. And suddenly I was like, oh, I've never even thought about it that way before. It actually took me a while. It took me a while for that to sink in, because never thought about God in that way. It's like, actually, it does make sense. So I think it was more like curiosity, and I just kept learning just to then be able to have the information to make my own opinions.
The depths of faith are so deep. I think that's why a lot of people have this misconception, as I said, because they focus on the laws of religion and not the actual origins or the depths of it. It's so deep when you start to understand why you think how you think, like why you make the decisions that you make, how to change that. Like it's almost like mind mapping. Like you get to learn about the psychology of the human mind through Islam. Or through faith in general. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
So hang on. So you embraced Islam at 21.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
What did that conversation look like with your parents?
So it was quite dramatic. So basically, I embraced Islam at 21. I waited a little bit until after my 21st birthday, because like legally I'm able to make my own decision. Right, in a way. So yeah, I said to, what was it? Okay, so I started praying. I went home and I was like doing my prayers, and usually I would lock the door. But like after a few days, I was like, you know what? I said, Allah, if it's time for my mum to find out, let my mum find out. She can open the door. The very day she opened the door.
Wow.
I was like, okay. And so
were you praying when she...
I was praying when she walked in, like literally that. I was like, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready for it to happen. I'm just going to face the music. And she walked in, and like, obviously she was like, this is like Isha, right? And she just went berserk. And she's like, oh my God, what happened? Like, did your boyfriend like put a curse on you or something? And like, I think because she, in the past, she had threatened to jump out of the our sixth floor flat, the kitchen window, if I ever decide to go away from Buddhism.
Wow.
But I don't know, maybe because I knew my mom enough and I trusted in her a lot enough, I'm like, that's not going to happen. Or somehow.
So it was a major thing for her, right?
It was a major thing for her. It was actually a very major thing for her. So, and then I think she was just beside herself. She didn't jump out the window, alhamdulillah, like luckily. But I think she got on the phone with her friend.
How did you react? Hang on, tell me, how did you react? So she's walked in, you're praying Isha.
I think I was very calm.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I just got to deal with this now. Like literally just focus on what's in front. Like I can't be flustered and all that. I'm like, I think I must have said something along the lines of, I'm still your same daughter. Like if anything's going to make me better, right? Having this belief. But obviously she was like, oh, all frantic and stuff. So she called her friend, who was someone who works at the temple, right. Does fortune telling, something like that. And he said, oh, it's okay, don't worry. After 2 years, she'll come back to Buddhism.
Like some sort of black magic is about to happen.
I don't know, because he's a fortune teller, right? So she listened to him.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, because that kind of...
Oh, it gave her...
That gave me a bit of room. Can you imagine? He said like, oh gosh, like, no, this is terrible. And so I think because he said that, she was like, okay, fine, I just closed my eyes. Like I closed one eye for 2 years. I think it made it manageable for her, alhamdulillah. I mean, obviously 2 years rolled round and I'm still Muslim, so... But in that moment, I think it probably helped her to just to handle the whole situation. And then the next morning, like I went to her room and she was like, okay, so what's halal? What's haram? I'm like, what can you eat? What can't you eat? I was like, mashallah. That means she's accepted it.
That's major, yes.
For her to be okay with that. And I mean, and this is where I love my mom because like, obviously this is a big deal for her.
Huge.
But at this point of time, I had broken up with that boy that I was dating, just because it wasn't working out anymore. But I was in a very bad place. So I took my mom on a cruise.
Right.
And I wore my hijab on the cruise. And I think it must be so hard for her because I still remember sitting down at this big table of 10 other elderly women, probably like, how elderly women are like when they sit together.
Yes.
And she was like, Chinese elderly women. And she was like, she just kind of went with the flow. And like I just ate there. We just ate together and that kind of stuff. So I think for her to be okay walking around with me in hijab, that must have taken a lot out of her.
That must have taken a lot out of her. And also for her, I guess, to see that even though you were no longer in that relationship, you'd still chosen to continue being Muslim.
Yeah.
Made her realize this was nothing to do with a relationship. This was a choice that you'd made for yourself.
Precisely. I think it had to happen that way because if I was still in a relationship, she could have thought about it a whole different way.
How was your hijab journey then? Like I know that hijab journey is one that is like
up and down.
Up and down, right?
Yeah, it was up and down. So obviously, being a fresh new Muslim, slate was clean. I'm like, okay, you could do everything perfect, do it the right way. And I did put on hijab from the beginning, or rather most of it, because I was working at a design agency. Like I didn't tell anybody I embraced Islam. So like the hijab only came on when I'm on the way to the masjid, like at lunchtime.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously during like Sundays when I'm going for Sunday class at Darul Arqam, etc. So it was, I was an occasional hijabi.
Yeah.
And obviously the plan was to wear it more. And, in Singapore, it's fine. It's safe. It's just that like in my current social situation, it didn't feel right to put it on fully. Like I wasn't ready. And I came to and then I met another boy. A Catholic. So this is not even my husband yet. And like, we had something going on and I took it off.
Wow.
It's not as in I took it off, like it wasn't fully on, but now it's like fully off.
Fully off, yeah.
And it was a very guilty 4 months. And then it was like, no, this relationship isn't working out. Like this is just all wrong. So then I met my husband now online. But even like during our kind of like time together, I didn't have the hijab on because he's also a revert.
Right.
And his parents are like Taiwanese, Chinese, and obviously, and they're not Muslim. So there was a lot, I think for me, that was the time when I came to London as well. So there was a lot of unknowns and like for me, having taken that one-way flight to London to try and make something for myself, like everything was just unknown and I was a bit scared to put on my hijab.
Let's talk about that one-way ticket for a second because you literally just booked a one-way ticket to London.
I booked a one-way ticket to London.
I was like, right, that's it. Life's about to change and I'm up for it.
Yeah, like just drop everything, I'm going.
Were there firstly, what was your kind of reason for suddenly doing that? And secondly, were there any moments that you like doubted your decision?
No, I was ready to go. Like, okay, so what was so basically I was at this design agency, right? It was a brilliant agency. So this was where fresh out of school, I went in as a junior designer and there was this girl, this colleague, and I think she gave me the idea. Right. As in she planted that seed in my head because she was going to London. And I was like, oh, maybe it's doable for me, right? So so she had been and she came back. So like was hearing stories from her and like thinking maybe this is something for me because I've always wanted to go overseas to study design, but I couldn't because my parents didn't have the finances for me to do so.
Right.
And I knew that for me, it would have to be, I'm going to work my way through and actually learn on the job. And luckily, with the industry, the creative industry, it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
So basically I thought maybe this is my chance that I've always wanted to go away. I always want to go overseas, get out of Singapore, and like go to all these amazing design agencies that I see in books. And so I thought, you know what? Okay, like that's probably on the books. And then obviously I met my husband,
right?
Well, now husband, online on something like Muslim Match or something like that.
Musmatch.
Well, you know what? It's a different. It was, I think, Muslim match
different?
was, yeah. That during those days it was Muslim match, and then I think they disappeared. I don't know if it's the same as Muslim match now, but yeah, something like that, right? And we always kept hush hush about it because it's a bit embarrassing. Like it's different
It's
to now.
now public.
I mean, now it's okay, right? But yeah, now it's public. But I met him, and we chatted. And I was like, oh my god, this is like a boy, like a male version of me. Because like his parents were Buddhist, and he's also like a revert and all that. So like we were really hitting it off well. He came to Singapore on holiday, so we met, and like again we hit it off well. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is my sign, right? And I mean, I know it's all not very like halal and stuff like that, but I was like, this is my opportunity to go to London because this and see what happens out of this. So I just thought, okay, let's look into what I need to do. And I found that I could go on a, I think it was like a 2-year visa, right? Or something like this. Just went and got it. I told my mom, I'm going away for 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah.
You lied to your mom.
Well, I didn't lie. No. I didn't lie because I can't lie, right? As a Muslim. So I said, I'm going to try for 2 months. But I mean, like, I knew I was going to try for 2 months and come back because then it was Chinese New Year.
Right.
So like it was time in a certain way. So I went away for 2 months. And then I came back like, you know what, Mom, I think I'm going to go back and stay for a bit longer because it was like going well. So I think it was also that kind of like step by step getting her used to, because if I told her I'm going away for 2 years, it's never going to happen, is it? So I said, I'm going to try for 2 months. So yeah, that's what actually happens. I came back and thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to London and make something of it. I think, again, she was talking to that fortune teller friend who, or someone who said like, oh yeah, it's time for her to.
It's the 2 years.
Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, it was.
She was like, please, come back,
come back, a Buddhist. And so I think like her friend said like, oh, it's okay. Like it's at that age they need to spread their wings and you let them go, right? So I think So I was lucky in that sense. She met my husband.
Yeah.
And because it's a dentist, like she felt like, oh yeah, very.
And he comes from a Buddhist family.
Yeah,
boxes.
Yeah, probably. I think he ticks a lot of boxes. He's Chinese, so I think there was a lot going on to be like, okay, I can trust this man to look after my daughter, even though we were not married. It's like so strange. But yeah, so then I went over and then 2 months turned to 2 years to like 10 years, and then until we got married, like that's like we're gonna stay put here. And I think my mom kind of slowly I think she kind of like got used to it or made peace with it. Like, like my daughter's,
Do you know what's going through my head at the moment is the fact that this fortune teller, it's such a big part of your journey, but fortune tellers work with jinn, right? So although jinn don't give them the future because jinn isn't capable of getting the future, what they do is they can get information from the past to build trust for the person. So ultimately, jinn has turned around to your mum and said, don't worry, 2 years, leave it with me. It's like, I'm on a mission.
Oh my God.
But jinn failed. Yeah. They failed your mission, which means during that 2-year period, you must have increased in your own deen.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I think I did. I think it was just being around the right people. Yeah.
So once you've reached London, did you go straight into design career? Like, what did that look like?
It was so hard. Like, I thought, okay, come in to London, start looking for jobs, right? But it took me a whole year. Like, I was, I consider myself a good designer.
Yeah.
And what was it? I can't remember what it was that's stopping me from getting a job. So no, I ended up working in an insurance company, doing office filing, and I got a raise though. And I got to work in like one of those buildings in bank.
Yes.
With like floor to ceiling. And I was like, actually, you know what? This was a dream of mine. I always wanted to work in a building like this, and I did it. So I was
did it.
Okay, it had to happen, So for a whole year, I was doing like, I washed cups. I was working in a cafe for a very short period of time. I did mostly office admin work, and then just trying to go to all the interviews. I don't know what it was. I think, number one, it seemed like my kind of certifications were an issue.
Right, okay. They're not the same, are they? They're not necessarily always
No.
right.
And I think because, like, you know, I didn't do design here. I did it in Singapore. So maybe people didn't feel like I might understand or get what it's like to,
even though design is a universal language,
right? So yeah, like I think, yeah, I went to a lot of headhunters, and yeah.
what's a
most of them-
headhunter? How does that work?
Oh, so like the creative headhunters. So basically, like a creative agency would go to them and say, "Oh, we need a designer, blah blah blah," and they would then send me to the interviews,
Right.
But they are like the middle person to review your portfolio, review your abilities. They obviously take a cut out of it. But like that was my way to kind of maybe get in, because they could like reach out to many agencies at the same time. Yeah, and then I did do like an internship with this little company, and it was great. But yeah, I think my big break only came much later. Like a year later, I turned up for an interview in this agency, global agency, and I think, yeah, I'm still very grateful to that creative director who saw me and said, "Okay, we're gonna take you on an internship." But after that, he was like, "Actually, you know what? We're just gonna hire you."
Right.
I was like, "Finally!" But he was actually a very inspirational figure in my design career, because like he taught me a lot.
Right.
And I think it was nice to have that validation and trust. So yeah, like it took me a year.
How many interviews do you think you went for?
Gosh, I don't know. I never counted, you know. I never counted. I was I wouldn't say hundreds, to be honest. So maybe I didn't go on enough. But like
That's a lot though. If you're getting anywhere near there.
I know. I did go on a lot. I even went out as far as Windsor. But yeah.
So you went on to become a design director, right? Traveled the world, got to live your dream career.
I did.
Which is incredible. But at this point, then you're not wearing hijab, which means you're not visibly Muslim.
I wasn't, no.
Did you have any challenges that kind of tested your own values or faith whilst in that position?
I think the only challenge was like, you know, when everyone was going to the pub, right? Or like if I had to go pray. Now obviously like I had to do it hush hush. And there was this little nook above the kitchen where I would go to pray, because during winter time your time's a bit shorter and it's just an odd time. So I couldn't go to the mosque, which was like 15 minutes away. So I would just pray in there quietly. And it's really strange because sometimes you kind of not on purpose, but like eavesdropped on people's conversations at you.
Because you're like hiding somewhere.
I'm hiding. No one knows. I have to be really quiet praying. Like, no. So I think that was that. Like, you know, I think that was as far as it got, because food wise, I could always go vegetarian, or I could just say I don't drink. I've stopped drinking. Yeah. So I think that wasn't an issue. And then later on, when I was like kind of working around the world, like. There were 2 years that I was primarily working on like an Indian, like Hindustan Unilever. So I was in India, like on and off for quite long periods of time. But it was great because like I was in like the Hyatt Hotel, and every day I would hear the azan. And I was like, this is bliss.
Wow.
I was like, I'm waking up to, and then I had Ramadan
Whilst you were there.
Whilst I was there. And then it's easy because like, you know, the hotel is like 24 hours. You just go downstairs to the lobby, get food or call room service. I'll have myself, and then come back and I'll just do my work. And, you know, if people were eating lunch, I'm like, sorry, I'm just, I think I did mention I'm fasting.
Did people know you were Muslim?
I think I eventually told them, like those people who I was working with in India, I just felt like in being in an Asian country, like people understood it more. So I had no qualms about sharing that.
What about in the UK?
In the UK, it was harder. Like it took me a very long time to even let anyone know. And in fact, my boss, like it was on a trip, like it was just the two of us. It was on a trip out to India with him. And then over lunch, he's like, "Are you Muslim?" I'm like, yes. But he just seems like so cool about it. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just making it all up.
That was my question. Why do you think you felt the
don't
need to
know.
hide it?
I don't know. You know, I think what it is I feel like, okay, as a Muslim, like people's general kind of misconception or perception it's like, oh gosh, like, you will have to pray, you can't eat this. Like, again, the rules and stuff, back to rules. And like, oh, it's so troublesome. Like, maybe I shouldn't hire her, or maybe I shouldn't give her this opportunity because it's going to be all these other issues, right? So I think it might be that. Like, I didn't want to seem like an inconvenience to anybody. Like, look, I can do my job, I just need to bend around time, but like just kind of like be a bit more flexible with certain timings.
So interesting though, isn't it, that there's this kind of perception that being Muslim makes you less effective or efficient in your job.
Yeah.
And I'm putting this back as well because it's an internal conversation I've had with myself many times, because when you were describing yourself at the beginning, when I was like, who are you? You're like, I'm a go-getter. I want to kind of go, I do things my way, I love adventure. I love all this. And so there's this real sense of confidence, right? I don't care what other people think. I want to prove like that I am capable. But when it comes to being confident in saying I'm first and foremost Muslim, we actually like, where's that confidence gone?
I know.
And why is that?
I know. It was, I didn't find it until I was in my 40s.
Wow, subhanAllah.
I think that was that one interview I did with Islam Channel, where it was just after I put on hijab again for the second time, but for good this time, inshallah. And I felt like it took me a while to get here.
Did you put the hijab on for the interview?
No. So I put the hijab on for a Ramadan radio interview because they said you have to wear hijab to the interview. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. So if initially I was like, that's a bit strict, right? But actually not. You know what? No. What's Allah trying to tell me? And I put it on. I was like, maybe let's just go with it, right? And see what happens, because I think it was also because it was, I can't remember whether it was Ramadan already or going to be Ramadan. But my prayers before that interview had been around like, what if I die tomorrow? Like what am I going to regret? And it's this internal conversation I've been having with myself. Like, have I done enough?
Yes.
Like, am I going to regret dying right now? And then because I've been like always worrying about what my mom-in-law thinks, worrying about what my husband thinks, or just anyone for that matter, right? I'm like, no, but why? Why? Like, shouldn't it be about worrying about what Allah thinks? Because I have the answer to him, not my mom-in-law or anybody for that fact. So I think it was like, okay, it just kind of happened at a right time where I thought, you know what? Stop thinking about what other people think. I'm just going to leave my hijab on after this interview and just keep going with it.
Did you tell anyone you were going to do that?
No, I didn't. And initially I was like, let's just try for Ramadan, I think it's making it easier for myself as well, because it's a huge commitment. And I didn't want to think about all the things that would come up and stop myself. So I said, like, okay, just for Ramadan. And I said to my husband, just for Ramadan. And I think the hardest part was telling him or telling my mum-in-law.
Why?
Because I felt I would be judged. But I thought, my husband's seen me most of my life, or most of our life together without hijab. Like he's seen me in hijab at the very beginning, before I came to the UK. But then after that, it was off, the hijab's off. And he's like, it's not like he's like super religious and that, you have to wear hijab. So he's not. And so for me, it's like, does that mean that he's not going to love me anymore? I think I'm saying it out loud now, but it's something that's kind of just bubbling inside that I've never really said out loud. So I think there was that. And then obviously my mum-in-law, them being not Muslim.
Yes.
Like already I've like felt, I don't know whether it's just my own thinking, like I put it upon myself, but I constantly feel judged for like parenting and all kinds of things, right? Living with my mother-in-law in the same house, you've got all this stuff going on. And I was like, okay, now what's going to happen? What's she going to say now if I put on my hijab? And like, what's going to happen if we have to go out together?
And what did happen?
So I think the good thing was they were away in Taiwan,
right? Okay.
When this happened. So I had a bit of time to get used to it by myself first and just like deal with all the internal talk. And then what I did first of all, I changed my WhatsApp photo.
Right, okay.
I changed it to one with a hijab. So when I was talking to them, they could see my photo with my hijab on. And I was like, I'm just gonna, that's the very, very first step. If they question, then I'll say something, but I'm just gonna like get people used to seeing me with hijab.
Yes, I love that idea.
First of all. And then later on, when she came back, I thought, okay, I think this chat has to happen now. So one day she was in the kitchen and I went up to her and like, oh yeah, Mom, I've got something that I need to tell you. Like you might have noticed, like I'm wearing hijab now. I'm going to be wearing it for a longer time. And then obviously I knew that she would have her opinions as usual, but deep down I felt I just need to give her the space to voice that out and get it out of the way. And at least I could deal with them while she voiced them out.
Yes.
And so she did, like, she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I think,
What did she say?
just like, the terrorists and, like it's dangerous for you to be out there with hijab and you go think about your children, or like, oh, like why, like if your faith is strong, why do you have to wear the hijab? And, all that kind of stuff, right? And I mean, I kind of just let her just speak whatever she wants to say. Like I wasn't really trying, I don't think I was even trying to kind of retort with anything like, oh, but no, that kind of thing. Like I actually just let her say. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. So I think maybe that helped. But then, yeah, I still remember the very first time we had to go for dim sum and I was putting on my hijab. I was like trying to do a turban style. So
Yeah,
it
trying
look
to make
a
hijab more acceptable.
Yeah, like more stylish kind of thing. But it was like, I felt so self-conscious. I felt so self-conscious that very day. But like, I think over time it's been okay. Then when I went to like Chinese school, my kids were going to Chinese school then, and then all my mom-in-law's like friends, like all the elderly ladies, they usually volunteer at Chinese school. And then obviously I come in with my hijab on, and it's like, oh, whatever. And like they kind of like, oh, you look like Malay, and like, 'cause for them, I think most of them are Southeast Asian, so like, okay, Malay and Muslims, like, it's all kind of combined together. But yeah, there was so many kind of like comments, but no, alhamdulillah, I think in the end, everyone's kind of like, okay, yeah, she's wearing hijab. And actually, I went to see my mom-in-law's friend the other day to give her some chocolates over the holidays, and she said, oh, you look so beautiful. And I was wearing my hijab. I was like, okay, that's very nice of you to say that. So maybe it's become accepted.
I always wonder about that comment though. I always wonder about the comment of someone complimenting when they say, oh, you look so beautiful. Are they just trying to say something to let you know that they're accepting of it? Because we have to be honest about this, right? Let's be really honest. The purpose of a hijab is not to make a woman look beautiful.
No.
The purpose of the hijab actually, I'm not saying removes her beauty, but a woman looks very different in a hijab than not in a hijab.
Yeah.
And usually, like, it's usually a major shock. Like, if you've got any female friends that have only ever seen you in a hijab, and then you take your hijab off, they're like, like, wait, you look 20 years younger. Like, you look completely different. You look so beautiful. And so obviously it's a major difference. It's the whole purpose of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that it removes I say it removes the beauty. It removes that beautiful look that a woman has when her hair is out. And so when somebody makes the comment of, oh, you look so beautiful, like, do they really mean that? Do they really mean that? Or are they just feeling the need to say something?
It's an interesting question, and it's an interesting opinion, because when I see friends I know don't wear hijab, and when suddenly they put on hijab, I actually do think they look beautiful.
But that's because it has a deeper meaning of beauty
deeper meaning.
to you.
Yes, that's a deeper meaning to me. But as a Muslim, so
as a Muslim,
but when it's a non-Muslim thing, I think you are right. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So as a Muslim, the beauty is in the fact that the woman is now guarding her beauty.
Yes.
Like that is beautiful.
Yes.
So yes, like if my daughter wears hijab and stuff, I'll be like, mashallah, like, you look so beautiful, meaning like almost angelic.
Yes.
Like it's a different sense of beauty. Whereas a non-Muslim saying it, it's almost like, well, I feel the need to say something to prove that I'm accepting of it. So I'll say something.
Interesting. I never thought. I mean, for me, the comment threw me off a little bit, but like, okay.
Yeah.
So
I think it's interesting.
yeah.
So tell me, so you've pivoted now at this point in your journey into, hang on, now wearing a hijab. Are you still employed at this point? Are you still working as a designer?
Oh, well, like the second time.
So I feel like, yeah, what's the transition point from you deciding that, because I know for you there was a pivotal point in your career, right?
Yes.
Where you've decided to leave employment and move into a different direction.
Yeah.
What was that and what was the reason for that?
Okay, so really leaving the employment was because I had my kids.
Right.
I had the first one, and it just felt like, okay, you know, I was working crazy hours when I was in my career, and it didn't feel right. Once I had my first one, like, it didn't feel right to be working those kind of crazy hours anymore, because I didn't want to miss out on their childhood. And I always thought, like, I would be that kind of mom who would, like, spend the first 5 years with my kids, you know, rather than working. and so I think,
Which is the more natural way. Like, do you think that is how we should be thinking?
Yeah.
Not how quickly can I return back to my career?
Precisely. And, like, I was just enjoying it. And I think because once I left, and that's why I went to freelancing, because I kind of want to get I want to try different places out of my system.
So you left being employed to become a full-time mum.
Yes.
And then at what point did the freelancing come?
So there was, the freelancing was before I became a full-time mum.
Right, okay.
So basically 1 year before I knew that we were going to try for kids, I left so that I could go and freelance and, like, just go everywhere, right? In all the dream agencies that I've been, like, thinking of forever. So then I got into them, and it was a great run, you know, like, it was a great 1 year or 2 years. Then obviously we had kids, the first one, my daughter, and, like, that's when I started the business. That's when I started Poppetry, because I was bored.
I was going to say, what made you do that?
I was bored. You know, like, no. And you know how it is as a creative, right? Like, you see other people do something, you think, I can do that. I can totally do that.
Opportunity is literally surrounding you.
I know, right? And it's like, then, so I actually did that. Like, I thought it was really out of kind of, like, doing something for my kids or for Amelia at that point. I was like, okay, I'm going to do up a room, and I wanted something for a room, so I started doing it by myself. So got inspiration and created.
So what is it? What is Poppetry?
So it started off just being, like, something for kids, right? Like, just design kind of posters and things. Okay. And it's Poppetry because, like, little puppets, like like the very British way of saying it. I was just trying to add, like, artistry with puppets. So Poppetry. And then no one can ever really pronounce it properly. Even I had to ask, just like, before I say this word. No, that was a fail, wasn't it? But anyway, so it started off being that. Like, I was just creating, like, designs. Like, I would do kind of customized designs, like illustrations, graphics, you know, for
of
like
what?
in this, like, it could be like alphabet. So, like, let's say, like, I've got the A, B, C, D, F, G, or whatever, and then a little kind of, like, animal, cute animal, you know, Scandinavian style, or like I had, like, muscle man, you know, those, like, circus. Like, I think I was really into, like, the circus kind of theme. So I had like just anything that I fancied, to be honest, at that point. And there was no real like, what is this gonna be? I'm just gonna explore because, like, I love it. I just like it. I do it, and it's for my kids' room, and I'm gonna sell it. And and it started off being that. And then what happened?
Where were you selling it?
Hey,
where were you
Etsy.
selling?
So it started off Etsy. And then suddenly it came to, like, I need to teach my kids about Islam.
Right.
But there's nothing nice in the market.
Yeah, it's all ugly stuff, like,
or very traditional, or because I'm not Arab speaking, a lot of stuff I'm like, I don't even understand this myself. So, or, like, is there any way I could make this look more appealing in the room where, like, we're happy to display it, and I can learn, and my kids can learn from it, and, you know, just kind of like I think bringing the beauty of Islam that I experienced when I first embraced Islam.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of my friends grew up, like, they were born Muslims, and they grew up, and it's like, there's always this fear. Sometimes there's a bit of almost like, usually it's the fear or, like, the trauma of, like, I have to go for, like, Quran class and I'll get, like, told off if I don't go, like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like, I wanted to bring that beauty of Islam through what I'm doing. And And I think also at this point, I was learning Quran from a teacher, and she had sent me this video, which said something about like your life. Like I don't remember who it was and what exactly the video was, but it was like, if you went through life and like you're just getting materialistic gains, by the time you get to your grave, you bring 0% in.
Yes.
If you have Allah, it's 1% or something like this. You know, like basically you gain when it's everything you're doing is for Allah.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, how do I make this, like, you know, how do I do
How
this?
can you align it?
And so like, yeah, so then I thought, okay, maybe this is where I try and align it to being Muslim. Like maybe I will create, I mean, I was going to create like ayat prints, you know, for my daughter's room anyway. Maybe I can see if anybody else actually wants it. And I did. And the first print was for £10. And I can't remember where it was. I was like, okay, I'm going to put it on Etsy. I remember my husband was, you know, behind me. I was like, I'm going to put it on Etsy now. And it just got sold like very quickly, like within minutes. I was like, someone bought it. And I was like, okay.
So was it physically printed, or was it something that would then
printed.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, the thing was, I designed it first, and I was going to do like a on-demand printing. So for me, it was easy to just pop on Etsy. If someone wants it, then I'll get it printed and then sent to them. So yeah, like it sold, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So it kind of got me excited to continue doing that. So it started with one ayah, and it was just my interpretation of the ayahs.
Yeah.
And and that's how I started. And then it kind of grew to have more items, like basically reminders in a Scandinavian style. And then that style became very much known with Poppetry, alhamdulillah.
And hang on, so you then build a business out of it.
I built a business out of it. Yes, I built a business out of it. And then, sorry, you were asking me about whether I was going back to freelancing, wasn't it?
But it's okay, because it's kind of led into this anyway. So, I mean, I was just trying to understand, so where you went from being employed into motherhood, and then what led you to then starting your own business.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, was there a turning point? And your answer was yes, it was becoming a mother and being bored, basically.
It was being bored. But I think there was also a drive of, actually, this could be something that could inspire my kids.
Yes.
So
you
I think
did it
it
for your
evolved,
children.
yeah.
And I do think that every successful entrepreneur that I meet has a really strong reason why. And you have to really have a focus on that, because it's not easy to have your own business.
It's not, no.
Right?
No.
Sometimes it is a lot easier to just be employed. But having your own business, like, what challenges did you face on that specific business?
So many. I think number one, I was a one-woman show. I think the hardest was at that point, I think my husband never like understood what I was doing.
Right.
Like you see, like, okay, I'm doing this, and he'll be happy for me when I make the occasional sales and stuff. But then the question always comes, when are you going back to work? Like, it was not serious, right? Like, it's almost like,
this is like your mum again with I should just be Muslim for a little bit. Happening all over again.
Yeah, precisely. And, you know, I mean, I could see where he was coming from. I think, yeah, like, because I was spending so much time on this.
Right.
I was sometimes losing sleep over it.
Right.
And maybe part of him asking that question could have been from, like, you know, he's just seeing me like slogging, leaving a 9 to 5. Well, it wasn't really 9 to 5, maybe 9 to 9 sometimes, but to go into like almost like a 24/7 work job and inside, like working, literally, like my baby. When my second one was born, like he'll be next to me. I'm like packing orders, you know, that kind of stuff. And I think, yeah, so I think until he had his own business, I don't think he really understood or felt what I was feeling. I had this grand vision, like, you know, this is me trying to change the narrative for Muslims. You know, this is me doing my part to kind of make it a positive impact, and to show our children that, you know, if they chase their dreams and they believe in Allah, then they can get what they want, or, you know, make an impact in the world. And I don't think he ever saw that. But I think this is very interesting, because I remember you spoke at, you know, that event that we were at recently.
Yeah.
And you said that most men are just thinking about money to feed the family. And then I think that sunk in for me, like, that was my husband. He's always been, I have to look after my family. So I don't care what else. Like, you know, that is my job. And I think maybe that's also the reason why he never understood what I was doing, because like am I just using up resources or something? You know?
I think it's something that people don't always see, is that there is a strong difference between men and women. All of this equality business doesn't really fit into, there's equality of values, how much we should be valued and respected, but not in terms of what our goals are. And so, as I said, yeah, men are financially driven because they have to be, because it's their responsibility Islamically to provide. Whereas a woman doesn't have that responsibility. And although a man must provide for where you stay, like, you know, bills and food and all these necessities, his wealth doesn't belong to you. That part of it does, like he has to pay for those things, but his wealth is his wealth. And so for a woman, when she does focus on her own wealth and her own goals, it's never just a financial one. It's always about creating some sort of impact, making a difference. And for you, the strongest thing was, well, how can I make this pleasing for the sake of Allah? Whereas a man, him working to make money is for the sake of Allah, because it's his duty to provide.
Yeah, I know. It was interesting when you said that, because then suddenly things kind of clicked for me why he was the way he was. I think for a very long time during that very first business, it just felt like there was a lot of friction.
Right. It was difficult, I'm sure, because he probably didn't envisage either, like, how successful it would become for you. Like, what happened? Did you get approached? Like, you sold the company.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was just having coffee with another friend who also had her own brand, but she kind of does it with her husband, and I think she was thinking of expanding. So I was like, you know, I'm thinking of giving up. Like, I'm just throwing in the towel because this is too much. Like, it's taking too much of my time. The kids, like, basically what happened was I had gone into the business thinking this is a way for me to be able to spend more time with my kids.
Right.
But it got to a point where it was taking time away from my kids. And it was also around a time where I had spoken to somebody who was a product business coach. I bought a book and got like a, you know, kind of like a half an hour coaching session with her. And I said, yeah, I'm thinking of like turning this into something like Cafe Kidston, you know, have a actual space, a shop selling all these things that I've designed. And she said, okay. So she did a maths for me. And basically it's like, are you willing to be spending this amount of time in a week with this number of people to look after? I'm like, no, I don't. This is not the life I want. And I think that's when I decided, okay, I think it's time for it to all come to an end with Poppetry.
Right.
And then obviously I was having a chat with this friend of mine. She said, you know what? I can buy over your company. I was like, oh, somebody wants to buy my company. That's interesting. And I think that kind of made me sit up. I'm like, okay, that is a way out. So I did put it on I did approach an agency to help me sell it. Because in the end, she wasn't able to, because she had something else come up that needed those funds. So I tried to sell the company, and then found somebody who was really passionate about, you know, this whole thing, and it felt like the right people to take the brand onwards. And
How incredible.
So alhamdulillah.
It's a really big thing, because, you know, any company that is set up and any company that you build, you should always have the intention of being able to sell it, even if you never have the intention to sell it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know you said that a lot, like quite a few times.
Yeah, you should literally build it so that it is not completely reliant on you.
Yeah.
So that when it runs, it should run, yes, you're part of it, but you should not be the only thing that's holding the entire thing up.
Yeah.
So if you can get it to that stage where somebody else is capable of taking over to run it, then you've really succeeded in your business structure and planning.
Yeah. So that was good for me. I think that was one of those points where, like, see, I could do it. Like, it's me proving that I'm able to do it and do something out of this.
Talking about your boredom for a second here, only because I've also noticed that every woman that I sit with who has her own business has a specific type of mind that can't handle boredom. What type of minds do you have?
Gosh, it's like one of those that, like, just fires off all the time, lots of ideas, but also like I feel like I could connect dots inside my head. So like I'll probably take something really abstract and just like, that kind of thing. I feel like it's always happening inside my head, even with my clients' businesses. So I think for me then, like it's almost like I have this urge to go and do something about it. I think that's what happened with the business.
I think it's one of the most, there's like a few common traits that I see in women who become successful in business. One of them is a kind of like neurodiverse mind, right? And then the second one is something that's happened in their life that makes them never want to have to rely on anybody else again. And so the need to be able to have this kind of safety net where you're not reliant on somebody else.
Yeah.
You feel that one?
I'm feeling both.
Ah.
I'm feeling both. It's interesting you said that because so I had to pause there because I'm kind of digesting it. There's part of me where, at one point I did think, do I have ADHD? And in the UK, it's really hard to test it. Like you have to be on this waiting list for 2 years. So I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Like tests I've taken say I am. So I think there's part of that. But when you mentioned about like there's something about not ever having to rely on someone again, something hit there. Because, my parents are divorced. And like my mom in a way was an entrepreneur. Not really, but in a way, like she works for someone, but like in the earlier days, she was going out and about teaching floristry to people. Like that was a thing.
She was doing
that
her
was a
own
thing. She went and got awards. She's been like crowned like the champion of whatever, and she's got all these trophies that she proudly displays at home. And then I also remember like, my parents never had a really kind of solid relationship. There was always fights about money. We had times when like the electricity be cut off, the telephone be cut off. My dad spending all the money that was sold from like the previous property that was supposed to go into my brother's kind of like schooling. And I think there's that part of, okay, I have a dad that I feel like, I think subconsciously I can't rely on. I don't want to end up in the same situation. I have to be like my mom and be independent, be able to take care of myself, take care of things. Because in case something happens, I'm sorted. I think that's probably...
You gave me goose pimples, by the way, when you were telling that story. So the combination of the two are the most common factors that I see on repeat in successful entrepreneurs.
Oh, really? Okay. That's good to know.
Because your drive has got to be strong enough, because having your own business isn't easy. Like most people give up within the first 12 months. So you've got to have a reason why that is so strong that you'll push through. And yes, it's nice to do something for your kids. Like that's a nice thing to do, but it's not a strong enough drive to not give up. Which is why most people give up within the first 12 months of business.
Right.
So usually the reason that I see is so much deeper than that, even if the woman has not acknowledged it herself. And I've literally been, when I say studying this, I'm not taking any course on it, but I've been studying the answers and the conversations that I've been having with women. And there's some other common factors that I see coming through as well, even when it comes to their preference over colors, over dress sense.
Really?
Over how they portray themselves.
Yeah.
Whether they are very quiet or whether they are quite confident in the way that they speak. And it's something that I analysed in myself, that I've always been very bold in anything that I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that is dress sense, colour sense, like, into what colours I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
It's sharing a message, like anything like that. And actually I had to stop and think, is that a weakness? Right? We think of confidence of somebody that's confident is the person that goes out there and is bold and, doesn't care. But sometimes I think that not being able to really embrace that soft, gentle, feminine energy is a protectiveness to not have to rely on other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To be like, no, I will be responsible for my own actions, my own choices, but I'm not going to be reliant on anybody else. And anybody else in my life is a bonus to my life, but not a necessity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that's why it makes people like us with that trait,
Yeah.
makes it very hard for us to ask for help.
100%.
If I ask for help, that's why I never asked for help in my first business. If I ask for help, I'm a failure.
And it
Literally.
took probably me up until not that long ago, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, to realize that asking for help is a strength, not a weakness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It took a while to come to that realization, to be honest.
Just many years of my life. Because when you ask for help from the right person, it's a strength.
Yeah.
When you ask for help from the wrong person, it's a weakness. It makes no sense to go and ask. It makes no sense for there not to be real power in asking for help from someone that is way ahead of you in whatever it is you want to achieve.
Yeah.
That's just a shortcut to
Yeah.
your results.
And why wouldn't
Well,
you
that's
wanna
just then a
try to-
stupid decision.
Yeah, I know. Like, why wouldn't you want to do things faster, better?
Yes.
If you could.
Yes.
Yeah, it took me a while to get there. To like, you know what? I'm gonna ask for help because it's gonna make things so much easier.
From the right people, though. From the people that inspire you.
People. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think it's so important to surround yourself with the right people.
100%. And I think that's been a game changer for me. And I think a lot of people are scared to say no to people. I'm really confident in saying no to people because I've learned that I need to surround myself with the people that make me want to better me.
That's true.
And so that doesn't mean you don't help people. That doesn't mean that you're not going to help those around you that need help. You can still do that. But you also have a choice of where you spend the majority of your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which rooms you choose to place yourself in, who you choose to sit down and have a conversation with. And if you leave that conversation feeling better about yourself or your life than you did before you went into that conversation, then that is a good conversation to have. But if you're around anybody that you leave and then you feel worse than how you were before you were with them,
no, you don't want to be around that.
we need to be deleting.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So let's just take a moment to have a look at what you're doing right now, because you now help other women learn how to build their own successful brands. And you've built Studio Noor and Nisa, and it's basically become a hub for empowering Muslim women to be able to become successful entrepreneurs through their branding. Like, where has this come about for you? What's this been like?
Yeah, I kind of fell into it because after I left my career, I thought, that's it, I'm not doing any more branding. Because there were a lot of things about brand being in that world which didn't quite align. Like, certain brands just didn't feel like a very good fit for me working.
Can you give me an example?
So, for example, there's this really well-known brand in India, Fairness Cream.
Okay.
I wouldn't say the name, but for a while, I thought I was doing something good there because they talk about empowering women by letting them have lighter skin so that they can go and get jobs, get husbands. And then later on, it dawned on me, well, no, it's not helping things. It's feeding more into the thought that you need to be fairer in order to be able to get what you want.
That's a deep embedded cultural.
And it is already bad it's almost like adding what do you call it, fuel to the flames. And I think after that, you know, it's a very successful brand. Like, when I was working on it, I remember we had a very successful launch. But I think later on, it was like, oh, this doesn't feel right.
It's so interesting, this conversation actually about fairness and skin tones in different countries, because I did some research on this desire to be fairer, and it was a lot of it, although there's obviously racism and everything that's kind of come into play, but there was this idea that if you are a lower class worker, you spend more time outside, therefore you're more tanned. And so it's seen as being more wealthy and pious to have fairer skin.
Yeah.
Is that something you've ever heard of?
I have heard of that. I think especially when I was working in India, I think that was the first time I got to hear of it. Actually, no. I think even back in Singapore, you don't realize it, but the color of skin does have an effect on how you are treated. And being Chinese, obviously we have like lighter skin, but growing up, I have heard family members, you know, kind of not dissing, but just seeing anyone with kind of darker skin seeing them as being not as like it's almost like seemingly more inferior. And I remember going back to the boyfriend thing, when I brought home a boy who was really dark because he was like Malay Indian, my mom got a shock of her life. And I didn't realize that skin color mattered so much until that moment, I think. And then later on, because most of the Muslims in Singapore are Malays and some Indians, and obviously they have darker skin color, and that's how it is. It suddenly became apparent that there was some kind of a bias in place in society.
Something you learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Such a hard pill to swallow.
And you don't know that because you don't see color when you're in primary school and when you're young. And it's something that comes along more and more as you grow up.
It's interesting because for me at primary school, I would always be targeted because of the color of my skin, which is bizarre because to people of color, I'm white. But to white people, I am a person of color.
Oh,
how confusing is that?
It is very confusing.
So I would get at school, told like, go back to your country, like all of these kind of things, because I'm half Italian. So when I tan really dark. Like my dad's half of the family are tans. But what was interesting is that when I went to Italy, I faced the same thing. The darker the skin in Italy, North Italy is much fairer than South Italy.
Right.
And so my family is originally from South Italy.
Okay.
And I would always get called, they use it in Morocchino. Well, Morocchino basically means North African.
Oh.
Morocco is
right. Okay, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of North Africa and Italy, they're very close to each other.
Yes.
And so it was seen as a bad thing because people from North Africa would come across to Italy on boats and be seen as almost the troublemakers.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I then had this label, whether I was in the UK or in Italy, but it's like, again, as we kind of went back to the you can't win if you're Muslim or you're not Muslim or you're not Muslim. I never really fall into either category. And so even having the conversation, I almost feel like I don't have the right to have the conversation. It's a real kind of, and I remember turning around to my dad because I would get bullied about it at school. I remember turning around to my dad when I was younger and saying to him, I wish you weren't Italian.
Oh, no.
And I remember to this day, like now I really hate the fact that I said that to him, but it's because I was getting bullied because of the color of my skin.
Of course, yeah.
Which is just, as I said, I feel like I don't have the right to have this conversation because I'm not dark enough to be considered as dark, and I'm not fair enough. I'm just like somewhere in the middle, like just a lost child. So just take me back to that for a moment. Like, how did you feel that kind of compromised your values, and what did you do about it then? Because it's quite a major thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the first thing I started doing was I asked to be moved to a different account.
Right, okay.
But also like...
Did you give reasons?
Oh, no. Like I said, no, actually, it was a couple of reasons. Not just because of the fact that, okay, it didn't feel right anymore, but also because... And to be honest, I did enjoy working, in India as well. But I was like, okay, 2 years, I've had enough now. Like, I would like to do some other different kind of... Like, I want to do some more Scandinavian work, for example. So I asked to bring me to the Scandinavian account because I love food, and I want to do more of food stuff. I don't want skincare anymore. And so like I did have a few projects that were kind of more like Scandinavian clients, which was interesting for me. But like I think it was kind of like taking myself out of that situation.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now I'm talking about it. It meant something to me.
Yeah, clearly.
But during that time, it didn't really hit me until later.
Isn't that interesting how normalized things become that aren't normal? And you know that through branding and advertising, that's how we normalize it even more. Even when it's not.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Because for me, it was just like, if I could take myself out of the situation, I'll do that.
And so you did, and you now focus on helping Muslim women to build their own kind of successful brand. What are some of the most common challenges you see amongst the women that you mentor in building their own brands, like as Muslim women?
Number one, they don't really have a very good idea of what branding is, so they don't see the importance of it. And I think that's why they don't kind of pursue it.
Okay, what is branding?
So branding is how someone perceives your brand. So basically what other people think, feel, and say about your brand, but also what, your brand says about them. And that is just as important, because that is going to be the reason why they would choose you over someone else.
I think there's kind of two aspects of that, isn't there? There's your brand is telling a story, but it's telling your own story and your own journey.
Definitely.
But yet it's taking somebody else on their own journey.
Definitely.
That may have a different story. And so there's kind of this parallel of stories, but storytelling and journey for each person that kind of comes into contact with that.
Definitely.
And I think a lot of people, when they're trying to do their branding and their messaging, they make the mistake of only speaking about the results.
Yes.
The product that you now have in your hand and the results that gives you. I mean, every product is linked with the results. So we're selling an emotion. We're not selling a product or a service. We're selling how that makes a person feel. So whether that's a Ferrari, or whether that is a piece of chocolate, or whether that is getting your hair done, or whatever it is, you're selling an emotion and a feeling.
Definitely.
But the biggest mistake that I see a lot of women making when it comes to that messaging is they're only speaking about that part. They're not speaking about where the person is at right now.
Yeah.
And so if you can't take somebody on the journey, then they can't envisage what that would feel like.
Precisely. And, it's like what you say about taking someone from A to B. Mm-hmm. Now, if someone doesn't even feel like you see them, you hear them, and you know what they're going through exactly, why would they want to buy that result from you?
Yes.
And then touching on that emotion again, and I'm sure you know this, I think 95% of purchasing decisions are based on emotions. Mm-hmm. Even if something's really expensive, I know people talk about price all the time. Even if something's really expensive, like if, let's say you love handbags and you see a luxury handbag that you really want, don't you justify to yourself why you need that bag?
Yes.
And so then the question is like, well, what are you doing to help someone feel so strongly that they want to work with you or they want to buy from you? Yeah.
And also another mistake I see is people only speak to the person that is ready to buy.
Yes.
Which, did you know, is only 3%?
Yes.
Of your
yes, I know. And that's so little. What about all these other people?
What about
in your house?
7% that are in that I'm not sure how I feel right now? If you speak to the 97%, then you're going to have a really strong 3% every time you're selling.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, branding is also about communication and connection. Yes. You have to communicate what you have to offer. Those 97%, they don't know why they would need something or what they even need. They're just not aware. But this is why you're here, to help them, because they might very well need what you have to offer.
Yeah.
They don't know it yet.
And do you think times have changed in terms of this kind of perfect, polished, professional branding look versus what has now come in to be known as kind of personal branding?
Yeah, definitely.
There's that, where's the relatability in something that's polished and perfect if you're not in a polished and perfect position yourself?
No. I think that's, it's interesting you mentioned that, because definitely I've seen something really polished versus something that's kind of just more real and authentic. Mm-hmm. The other one has got more, you feel more connected to it because it's more relatable.
That's it.
But then also, yeah, I think that's what it is. It's being relatable. I think another mistake that I see business owners making is that they feel like they have to be this polished version.
Yes.
And are very scared to show any vulnerabilities. Mm-hmm. But actually, a bit of vulnerability is what is going to help someone see you've been in my position, you get me, and then you've got out of it. So of course, it's building up that trust, right? And we know that brands, it is about building trust so that someone is going to buy from you. Mm-hmm. And so having that relatability, that connection, that vulnerability is going to help someone to choose you again over someone else.
Yeah.
Because it's a saturated market. We know that. social media makes it easy to like see a lot of like very similar businesses, but how is someone going to decide to choose you over someone else? And, you know, this is something that I didn't realize so strongly until I had mentees tell me in the interviews, like there were so many other women I could have worked with, but I just felt drawn to you.
Yes.
Like I felt like you were the one who could take me to where I want to be, and like I trusted you.
The best thing that I think somebody can build in their brand is for their potential client to turn around and say, I feel like you're talking to me.
For sure.
That's what you want.
That's what you want.
That's what you want. And so, you know, if we get clients on calls, sometimes I watch the calls back, and one of our questions that we always ask potential leads is, what inspired you to take this call? What inspired you to take the time out to come on this call? And so often the answer is, I feel like Khadijah's message was speaking to me. That's branding.
That is branding. That's branding. Yeah.
And I think if we can help people to realize that it's not about being perfect and polished. Perfect and polished makes you move very slowly. It makes you very unrelatable in a time where even the biggest brands out there right now are using personal brand strategies.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Have you had any moments where your client's success has validated the reasons behind your mission of what it is that you're doing?
Definitely. I mean, recently I just had like 3 interviews with my past, or like the mentees from the first cohort, and just hearing their wins is like, this is what I'm talking about. For example, one of my mentees, Taslima, she's an artist, and you know, before all this, I think she felt like there was something off with her messaging.
Okay.
But then since, I think in her own words, since being on the program, it allowed her to be loud.
I love that.
And allowed her to be unapologetic. Like she actually I actually used the word decolonized. And like that was so scary to use. But when she used it, and she was getting invited onto like a Islam channel, onto radio channels, and I think like to some other kind of like speaking events, etc. And she said, whenever I say my message out loud, people get it. And I think what was really like, how do I put it? Yeah, what was really interesting was that when she had come onto the program for her own kind of business with the Islamic art.
Okay.
And she had this course that she had been wanting to do for three or 4 years and never happened, right? But then after that, she just like, because of what she was learning in the program, she decided to put it out there. And without any marketing, she was sold out and have people on her waiting list. And I think like, wow, that is just so amazing.
Because her messaging and her branding was consistent from you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's being able to, actually what I've mostly heard from people is that they are actually able to articulate what it is that they stand for and what they're about. And then that obviously reaches the people that they want to help, and it resonates with them.
Because I think quite often when it comes to building a successful brand, people think about what it is they offer, but not the message that's behind it.
That's one thing that's been missing out, I think.
And when you can articulate the message, then everything else will just fall into place by itself.
Precisely. Yeah. And it's not even just the message itself, it's how you say it too.
As someone who defied expectations, because this has been your thing, right? It's like, I'm gonna go against everything. What's been the biggest challenge of staying true to yourself in the kind of realm of societal norms?
What's the biggest challenge? You know what? It is always that fear of being judged.
Do you think that's difficult for Muslims?
For Muslims, yes, because I think when you think about like, okay, I've got to be visibly Muslim, suddenly you're telling yourself stories about like, oh, you know, what's portrayed of Muslims in the news and everywhere, right? And there's this kind of wrong perception.
And is this kind of this like internal struggle of battling with, look, my only goal is to please Allah. But then there's this kind of like triangle around that of, well, at the same time, I'm somehow trying to fit into societal norms and expectations, especially in the Western world. Okay. And then off the back of that, you've got, well, what culturally my family expects this of me. And so the thought of me having my own business or personal brand on social media is just unheard of. Like, that's just crazy.
Definitely.
Your role as a woman should be X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got the Muslims who are thinking you're just not Muslim enough. Like, haram, I can see your wrist. Like the amount of haram messages.
That's so quick to touch you.
That I get. And then, hang on, wait, let's just add beam a revert on top of that, shall we? Because now on top of that, you've got your non-Muslim family thinking you're too Muslim. So you're either too Muslim, not Muslim enough, in the wrong country and should go back to a country you didn't come from. Or you should be family pleasing because culturally you have stepped out of your boundaries as a woman.
It's no wonder we're like so fearful of judgment. There's so many parts coming at us.
There's so many angles like that.
But then that's why it all clicked when I said, you know what, I'm not gonna care about what others think anymore, because it's more important that Allah, that I'm answering to. It matters what Allah thinks.
Yeah.
Who cares what other people think? Okay, I might have to deal with them in this dunya. But when I'm answering Allah, on the day of judgment, I want to be answerable,
And I think and it's an internal challenge for myself. Like, I've battled with my own kind of confidence in showing up authentically Muslim, which makes no sense because I'm visibly Muslim.
Yeah.
And so there's been this kind of like, well, I don't want to exclude people. I don't want to exempt people. And so I'm trying to be a bit more broad. When actually your Islam is your USP, and it sounds really bad to say that, but it's not bad to say that.
It's not bad.
Your Islam is your unique selling point. That is what differentiates you from other people. It's the reason why women want to work with me. It's the reason why women want to work with you, is because they know it's much safer that they're not going to be asked to compromise values in the same way as if they go somewhere else. But what we need to do as an entire ummah is step up our level of professionalism. So that we are the go-to, the first option.
Definitely.
Not I'd ideally like to go with him. I'm going to go with her because she's Muslim.
That shouldn't
be like that, right?
It shouldn't. And, like branding for me is da'wah. And if you could kind of help to change that narrative as a strong Muslim brand, then collectively, there's so much we can do to change like what's happening right now. And I know it's like scary to kind of think like, oh gosh, like, should I be visibly Muslim? Because people might think I'm using religion. And I hear that a lot, but actually no. And to be honest, like even with my two businesses, with Poppetry before and even Studio Noor and Nisa now, I've had to make the decision to really niche into being Muslim. But it's not because I'm using Islam. It's because the people who I want to help can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
And that's what is so important about actually niching. And I think we might have talked about this before. Like people think niching is so scary and you're going to miss out on opportunities and customers. Is like complete opposite. And it's not forever. You can niche now and then you can do kind of expand your horizon later to include other people who might have more kind of ethical practices or values, but are not Muslim. I mean, Amazon started with books and now they're selling everything, right?
It's such a good example. And I think the same for myself, that I have started broad in many areas and I keep niching more and more and more. And every time I niche, the more my business grows. It's the opposite of what people expect, right?
Yes.
So, I was helping anyone that wanted to start a business. And then I was like, no, now I'm only going to help people online that want to start a business. And then I was like, no, I'm only going to help people who want to start an online business. And then I was like, no, I only want to help people that want to do a business brand or a personal brand. Now I'm like, no, I only want to help Muslim women who want to learn how to set up a personal brand and monetize it with a coaching business. Yeah, the more niche I get, the more specialist I become at it.
Yeah.
The more value I can deliver, the easier it is for me to help those women achieve their goals.
Precisely.
And so the better value they get, therefore the better my business is going to do.
Definitely.
So yeah, niching down, I think, is something that people are scared of doing, but actually it's the strength in the growth of a business. Don't be a generalist when it comes to your business.
Totally agree on that.
How do you balance ambition and your goals and your work with your personal life? Because you're managing multiple roles, right? You're a businesswoman, you're a mum, you're a wife, you're a daughter. Like, what does that look like? Because it's one of the biggest fears that women ask me, how do you do this? Oh, and hang on, whilst holding on to your faith.
It's a juggle, right? But I think a lot of that kind of goes into one another in a way. I mean, for me, it's about setting very clear boundaries. Like when it's work, it's work. I mean, it's still a challenge for me. I'm not saying it's like easy, but when you can set clear boundaries of like, okay, for example, your time, how you're spending it, you know, time for yourself, time for your parents, time for your family, etc. And I think having that clear boundary and expectations and letting people know of those boundaries and expectations helps. But on the other hand, you know, as a woman in business, and like my children get to be a part of it sometimes. I think there's beauty in that because they see the growth, they see what you need to do. And
it's interesting, but when somebody asked me the same question, they're like, how do you balance having a business whilst being a mother? And like, the two aren't actually separate.
Yeah.
They actually really work together really nicely, because the other alternative would be that I'm out of the home working a 9 to 5.
Precisely.
And let's be honest, a 9 to 5 is not 9 to 5, is it? It's like 8 till whatever time. Like, so by having my own business, I'm able to schedule my time in a way that I want to.
Yeah.
I'm able to give my children really focused mummy time. And I'm able to give my business full focus when I want to.
Yeah.
And what I don't do is try and merge the two, meaning I'm busy working, so mummy's busy working. Like, I try not to do that. Sometimes there might be a time where there's a deadline on something. You know, it happens.
It happens.
But in general, they're very much part of my business. And something really beautiful happened the other day. I took my daughter to meet her friend. Went out. They were having chicken wings. I was sitting and they were chatting. So my 11-year-old is now homeschooling. And my two boys are still at school. They're at primary school. And I wanted one of my children to go through primary school, just because I think there's so much that can be learned from being around people that you like and people that you don't like. I think that's a skill that you need to learn.
Yeah.
But anyway, something really beautiful happened because I was with my daughter. We were sat down. She's with her friend, and her friend's gone to the secondary school that she was going to go to.
Okay.
She's now being homeschooled.
Yeah.
And so they were just chatting. She's like, so what's secondary school like? She was trying to find out. And she was like, yeah, children aren't very nice. Like, she wasn't really speaking highly of it. She's like, we get loads of homework, but it's okay. And my daughter was like, oh, like, why would you put yourself through that? It's kind of, you could see like her face. And then she asked her, so what do you want to do when you grow up? And her friend said, I don't know, maybe be a dentist. And she said to her, she's like, well, you want to put your hands in other people's mouths? And she was like, no, I hadn't thought about that. She's like, maybe not a dentist. She was like, oh, it's a very innocent conversation. Yeah. So then she asked her, she's like, well, what do you want to be? She was like, my daughter, she was like, I want to be a CEO. She was like, oh, wait, no, I want to be a CEO. She's like, well, why didn't you say that? She's like, because we've never had that presented as an offer, like as an option.
Okay. That's right.
Where would the school ever say to you, these are the options of careers you can have. You can be a CEO. You like,
never, right? There's a lot of things that schools don't. Yeah, but there's a lot of things that schools don't teach you.
Yeah.
And I feel like just us women having our own businesses, there's so much we can teach our children.
Yes. And bring them in to be part of that. Right?
Precisely.
Is there any piece of advice that you wish you'd had at the start of your business journey that you now would like to share with others?
Yeah. I think a piece of advice I got that I wish I had earlier, and that was regarding time. And that, you know, and I think all of us starting businesses from scratch. We are like pinching pennies, trying to get the cheapest and all that. But actually, what's more valuable is your time. And if I had known that earlier, I probably would have done things a lot faster. And I think there's merit in learning to do things yourself, so you know what's involved. But then beyond that, like I felt like there were times I've definitely wasted a lot of time doing things that I could have got someone else to do for me. And I could have moved faster in my business if I hadn't like thought, oh, I have to do all this by myself. Or
I think that's really the difference between being a business owner and being a sole trader. They're two different things, right? And I think people think that being a sole trader or a freelancer is having your own business. Ultimately, you're just employing yourself, and you're going to get to a max out point where you just physically can't take on any more clients than what you have. And so it's probably one of the most common questions I get in people that are looking to scale their business is like, they faced a bottleneck. They've got to a point where they physically can't take on any more. So how are they going to scale?
Precisely.
And in building that team, they'll often ask me, well, who should I employ first? There's no one size fits all answer, is there?
No.
So what are your strengths? What are you incredible at? And what do you really love doing?
Definitely.
Okay. How can you put more time into that? And then who you bring in really depends on what's going to generate more sales without the bottleneck within your business. Because if you're the person that's going to be skilled at bringing in more sales, for whatever reason, whether that's through content or whether that's through you speaking with people, then your focus should go on that. That's your first stage of scaling.
Yeah.
But if that's not your strength, then bring in people that can do that for you.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the biggest investments that I made, and it was probably the biggest risk that I've ever taken in employing somebody, and now I don't see it as a risk at all, now I'll do it again and again and again, was coming out the back of COVID. Was I brought somebody in on a salary that I was going to be paying her more than I was paying myself. And it was coming out the back of COVID.
Yeah.
But her area of expertise was an area where I had little knowledge. So not only did I not have enough knowledge, I didn't enjoy it. So finances, legal, HR, like all of that stuff is just not my field. But when you have somebody that actually pays attention to finances for you, and it's like, we should be putting money here, we should be focusing on this, then it works. And that one employee brought me more money in a matter of months than what her salary was.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it is just identifying where's best to invest that will bring the best return and the most peace and happiness, because we nobody wants a stressful business, right?
Definitely. And I think that's what being CEO means, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think people think like, oh, I'm spending this amount of money, but it's an investment.
It's an investment
That's going to bring more money and more joy in the long run.
You know, the large corporate companies, they usually look at a person's salary based on the person bringing tenfold into the business.
Yeah.
That's how they calculate how much you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
So either it's based on what performance you're going to bring, or, this is just my opinion, it's based on what level of stress you can handle.
Oh.
Because nobody wants to do a stressful job.
That's true.
So if you think about the most stressful jobs, they're usually the most high paid jobs.
Yes.
Who wants to do that for fun? When they could go and maybe just work in Sainsbury's or somewhere and have a stress-free life for the same salary.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
What would you say is your next steps from here? Like, what's your future look like? What's your end goal? Do you wish to leave a legacy? Like, what does it look like?
I think for my end goal, to be honest, because of the way the world is shifting all the time, I feel like I don't have a really clear idea what that looks like. What I do know is that I do still want to continue empowering women and helping them through what I know, like branding, for example, right? I mean, that is my strong skill set. But anything where I could help amplify their voices, getting them seen and recognized and respected, and them making an impact on the ummah and on like our children, etc. So that, I mean, for that, like there's something Mind Valley that we were talking about. Like it's almost like bringing together more kind of Muslim coaches, more Muslim minds and hearts, to help propel this kind of progress
On
a large scale. Like
so big.
Yeah, precisely. I just feel like there's so many like masterclass or Mind Valley, or I don't know what other kind of like, programs out there. But I always feel like we don't belong.
It's so interesting because I had that exact same conversation with somebody from a podcast the other day.
Yeah.
And she was telling me how she'd been to a Tony Robbins event. Now, I've personally never been to one, but she said it was really hyped. Like there was loads of value. There's this really buzzing energy. And she was given this soundtrack to listen to when she wants to motivate herself to work.
Yeah.
And so she'd taken it home, and she said she actually got into a habit of putting this on when she wanted to achieve her goals, and it would really hype her. And then she was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm a Muslim woman. Why is that my motivation? Why has that become my motivation and my go-to? And so removing it was actually quite difficult for her to do.
Yeah.
We can do this.
We have the correct, a lot of the self-help books out there nowadays have got, kind of like concepts and values all written in Islam. And I just remember I used to listen to all these like affirmations, like, oh, I'm going to take in what a universe. I'm like, no, wait, it's Allah, right? Like, why am I had to change it, within my mind as I'm listening, like to this kind of like affirmations. But then actually, why can't there be like a Muslim version? And there's enough of us coaches out there who can do this.
So interesting what you said about the universe. The universe, Mother Nature, a force, like all of these things are just watered down versions of Allah.
Precisely.
Of God.
Yeah.
That is literally all they are, to distract us from the bigger picture.
Yes.
And to be able to give a label to the people that question enough, but don't question enough to actually get to the final place. Like we'll just keep them satisfied enough with this, because we know that the intelligent people are going to question life at some point. We are going to question like how many coincidences needed to happen for us to be sat here right now. Like how many is billions, trillions, I don't know. Like it's probably not, we probably even don't have a number that covers how many coincidences need to happen for the planet to exist, for the, let alone like the solar system or the universe. Like, and we're talking about the universe, you're trusting in the universe. What's beyond the universe?
Yeah.
How is there enough space for something to fit that potentially might not have an end? Our mind is not capable of even comprehending what that looks like. And so we'll just give it a few labels to keep people
happy, right?
Happy.
And not questioning anymore.
But you know who believes in God? That doesn't believe in God? The insurance companies.
Oh, well, because they say like if adding God.
It was an act of God.
Yeah, act of God. Yeah. That's
a
good point. I never thought of it that way. Yes, you're right.
Covered, that's an act of God. You believe in God? Well, what's your faith? Oh, no. So what about, if you're happy to answer this question,
okay,
what about when you're no longer here? What would you like to be known for?
I think I've thought about that before. But I think I want to have been known for, like, even just for having played a part in helping people to see Muslims a different way, for helping, Muslim women be out there doing their thing, inspiring others, inspiring future generations, and kind of even just having started, like, sparked something.
Yeah.
Because, it's gonna be like snowball effect, isn't it? With the future generations as well. I think for me, it started off being like, I just want my children to be in a society, like in an Islamic society, like a Muslim ummah that actually are proud of who they are as Muslims, not worried about being like visibly Muslim or anything like that. They are embracing their own kind of strengths and doing what they want to do, not fearing what others are going to say, and actually making an impact out there and like doing good, basically. And I feel like it has to start from us.
Because they won't be showing up on social media?
Yeah. If you have a message, you should. You should make it loud and clear. You should make it loud and clear.
And I think the other one thing that we shouldn't be scared of as Muslims is talking about money. There's a fear, isn't there, of like money is the root of all evil, or, you know, we shouldn't be greedy, or we should live within our means.
Definitely.
And I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Like, my opinion is the fact that, I'm sorry, we need to be more professional, and we need to be growing, and we need to be front line when it comes to being professional. So we are people's first choice, and we should strive to have wealth, as long as that does not replace our faith or our deen, and that we're using it for good intentions to build for a stronger ummah. I don't know. Answer this question for me. Is money the root of all evil, or does it bring out the truth in people?
Definitely bring out the truth in people. And I think we have seen that, you know, over the last year with all the events that's going on. And I feel like because we have all been conditioned to think that money is evil, it's going to change who we are as Muslims or change our values, etc., then we are, even like as business women, we're not really going out to get that money. But then when you look at how the most successful brands in the world had all that money and influence and are like using their money for bad things, right? You think like, well, where are the Muslim businesses? Where's the money going? And I think, you know, I think as long as you have a strong faith in Allah and you fear Allah, that money is not going to go to something bad. You would use it for good.
I love what you've just said there as well about the fact that the businesses that are doing really well are using money for bad. We need to be balancing that.
For sure.
We need to be balancing that with the money that is coming in being used for good.
Yes. And if you look at who was the wealthiest woman when it was the Prophet, peace be upon him's time.
Yeah.
And how she used her money. We have examples of role models for us to see that money doesn't make you bad or evil.
Yeah.
And you can do so much with your money.
Do you think we are becoming these corrupted, westernized Muslim women?
I you know what? No. I don't think we are corrupted. I don't think we're becoming this corrupted, you know, Western women. But I think we have just been fed all this rubbish that keeps us thinking small.
Do you think that the narrative that we are becoming westernized, brainwashed Muslims comes from a system that doesn't want to see Muslims thrive? And so actually, potentially what we're doing is returning back to the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and following in the footsteps of role models such as Khadijah, radiallahu anha. And so the only way to stop that from happening is to say that we are becoming corrupted, westernized Muslim women.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit of a vicious circle, right?
It is a vicious circle, but I mean, I think to my husband, I don't even want to watch the news anymore.
Yeah.
Because I feel like media has a very big role in playing that. Like with all this news, they could choose how they want to present something. They could choose the words. They could like cut out scenes and show you they can portray things in a certain light. And, you know, that just like it's just been all this brainwashing, right? Since you were a kid. And I think all that needs to stop.
Yeah.
And it's up to us. It's our responsibility to go and change it and show people, you know, that this is not the case.
You know what news reporters are really good at?
Fabricating stories, no?
Personal branding.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They are incredible at it.
No, you're right.
Because you will follow a specific reporter. Right? And so you actually start to like that person along with their views. And so they build such a strong personal brand.
That's
if you look at
very true.
TV or the media, if you look at people like Simon Cowell or Piers Morgan and people like this, they have built such strong personal brands. Yes, they also have companies, right?
Yes.
But they individually are strong personal brands. And people like them, they buy into their message. Therefore, they buy into pretty much everything that they say without questioning.
Without questioning. Yeah.
Without questioning. That's damaging personal branding. That's a bad form of it, where people no longer question what it is you say because they like you so much.
Definitely. And I mean, you have the bad side. You also have the good side, right? And I think this is where someone needs to readdress that balance and come and show like the other side, the good side. Actually do good with branding, do good with money, do good with business. Like there's so much that we can do.
Yeah.
And it's about, I think for me, it's about amplifying that effect. It's like things need to happen fast now.
You know what's really beautiful is that up until recently, Muslim women have had to learn from the people who are maybe causing harm and damage to society. For me, I've had to, because there was nobody to kind of lead me in what it is that I wanted to achieve doing that was Muslim, let alone a Muslim woman.
Yeah.
So I literally feel, and it must be the same for you, that you're now in a position where you can educate women, Muslim women, on how to achieve their goals whilst staying aligned with Islamic principles. And it didn't exist before.
No, you're so right. And actually, that's what one of my mentees said. Like, actually, what the program did for her was show her you can put, like, you can build a brand that's aligned with your faith and values. There's no separating it.
Yes.
And yeah, like we had to learn from people who, like, you probably wouldn't bring religion in.
No.
But actually, as a Muslim, it's so much a part of your life and a part of your every fiber of being. You can't separate it. And then why not make that a part of your identity? And it is about your identity, right? Like with branding. And actually be proud of it, right?
100%. What message do you have for the woman who is sat at home on the sofa thinking, this is so inspiring, but I would never be able to achieve something like that. I just feel stuck.
Just do it. Just do it. I mean, I know I'm just copying this from Nike now, but literally it's that. If you're going to stay stuck and you think you're going to stay stuck, then you will stay stuck. But then if you think about, I think sometimes it is also about digging into your why. Because for me, even that is something that I have to keep reminding me, well, why am I doing this? Because when I dig into my why, it makes me want to do it more, because there's actually something to push you, and like there's a reason for doing that. And like it is about taking action and not just dreaming about it. Because I think one thing that's actually really helped me reframe like all this, because obviously there's been times I'm just like, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that. Why am I not getting it? Like, I've been praying to Allah for it, but why am I not still getting it? It's been so many years. And actually someone said to me, like, well, are you ready to receive your daughters? I'm like, okay, yeah, I haven't taken action. Oh, I've taken action, but it's like really small action. Like, I'm not ready. That's why I'm not getting it. But what do you need to be ready to get it? And I think over the past like few months, like I've just like really gone like beast mode. And I'm like, okay, I better start taking action. Without action, nothing's gonna happen. And alhamdulillah, I feel I'm closer to where I want to be. But it takes getting yourself ready to receive what you're asking for.
100%. And actually opening up that communication with Allah for what it is you want, and to not ask small. So I think to achieve success, everybody has the ability to be successful. And it does take three things. It takes setting a clear intention, your why, your reason why you want to do it. Then it takes praying, making dua. Allah, if this is good for me, make it easy for me. If this is bad for me, keep it far from me. But don't stop there. Be specific and ask big. Don't just be like, what comes to me is good for me, what doesn't come for me is bad for me. Like, exactly what do you want?
Yeah.
When do you want it? What do you want it to look like? What's your reason for doing that? Like, where do you want it to go? And ask big. Like, why are you doubting Allah's ability in being able to answer your dua? Allah is capable of so much. And you're just being like, well, if it's good for me, like, no, let's go.
Yeah.
And then number 3, take action, but massive action.
Yeah.
Literally, like, right now, I'm going to give this everything I've got. Not going to allow it to take over my life or consume my life. It's going to be part of my life, but I'm going to give it everything that I've got.
Definitely.
And whatever comes at the end of that you are successful, because if you succeed and you got what you asked for, it was good for you. And if you didn't succeed, it was bad for you. It wasn't meant for you, and something else is better for you. But you did those three things with conviction.
Definitely. And I find like a lot of people, and myself included, is always like something that's stopping me from taking action is like, I don't know how. But actually, like in recent times, I've come to say like, you know what? I don't know how. Fine. I'm going to surrender to Allah. Allah, I don't know how. Just help me. I'm going to take action. You take care of the how.
Yes.
And then that's how you get there.
And then watch Allah literally place somebody in your life.
Precisely, right? There you go. Precisely.
That's your how. It's right there.
It's just amazing. Like, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Anything else you would like to add?
No, I think just don't be afraid to be who you are, to be different. Actually, do as much as you can to be different. And you are different because, you know, you've lived your life only the way that you've lived it. And by being different is being able to communicate to others that like you're the one for them, because they might be in a similar situation as you, and they really need to hear from you, or they really need to see what you're doing, the way you do it, and they might need that solution that you have. So I always say, when you don't show up authentically, you're actually robbing that person of the ability to get out of that stuck situation.
Yes.
So, and then before they even know that you can help them, they need to see that you can help them. So definitely, you know, do not be afraid to be different. That's something I've said many times, and I'll say it again.
And you've just made me think of something, because if you don't show up authentically, and if you don't show up as yourself, you actually mislead other people, which could be really dangerous for you.
That's quite true. Yeah. That would be worse.
That's worse.
That would be worse.
That's worse. Maylene, the pleasure has been all mine. Thank you so much.
Likewise, it's been such a
all of the
pleasure.
gems that you've dropped. Where can people find you if they want to learn how to really build their own authentic brand?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram, definitely more active now on Instagram. So that's at studio.nooranisa, as in Nooranisa. But I've also just done my website up again. So it's www.nooranisa.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you.